I'm Jim Murphy, Woodbury Monthly Meeting. I'm also the Salem Quarter clerk. And this is Chris Mohr from PYM. He is our new General Secretary, and he's making rounds around the meeting, not around the meetings. And he is going to be listening and speaking about various quarters and concerns. So if you have any concerns to lift up, now is the time to do it. Enjoy, friends.
Thank you, Jim. So, my name is Chris Mohr. As Jim said, I'm a member of Green Street Meeting in Philadelphia and serving as General Secretary for Philadelphia Yearly Meeting, PYM, which is the association of 110 Quaker meetings and worship groups throughout the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Delaware, South and Central Jersey, and Eastern and Central Pennsylvania. The yearly meeting is also the body gathered in session to discern the will of Spirit for our community. This year we will be gathering at Cheney University in Chester County, PA, for the second year in a row. And that will be, I think, July 22nd to 25th or so. The first 2 days will be online only, and then there will be both online and in-person at Cheney options, complete with children's program. So it really is an all-ages, multi-generational event, and I hope some friends can come. And then finally, we often say PYM includes the staff that is hired to do the work of the yearly meeting in between sessions. I realized no matter how we try to do an org chart, it never quite works because in our official governance handbook, it says, like monthly meetings at the top. And then they come together as the body in session. They appoint governing councils who appoint committees and granting groups, and then hire a general secretary to manage the staff. But it always looks hierarchical. And so even though it says monthly meetings at the top, it just doesn't quite work. So I've realized really the heart of our life as friends is the monthly meeting. And so the monthly meeting is kind of like a cell. It has a membrane around it, but it's porous. Things can come in and out. But yet it sort of identifies that organism. And then around that cell, there are other monthly meetings that also have their own permeable membranes. And around that group of cells is another membrane called the quarterly meeting. So it's my pleasure to be with you here at Salem Quarter in Seaville. I think it's the second farthest I've traveled so far, because I also got to State College, which is, in fact, quite a bit further from Philadelphia than even here. And then finally, to extend my metaphor, the yearly meeting is like the agglomeration of all the quarterly meetings with its own permeable membrane that sort of defines it, but you can cross that boundary. And then finally I realized the whole yearly meeting is kind of like an octopus or a squid, a cephalopod, because there's an organism, an animal, that has a propulsion system, the siphon or the cone that moves the animal.
Okay, we're back, okay.
And so
this would be aimed at the speaker.
Trying.
Hello. There you go. So the animal decides where it wants to go. It says, oh, there's food over there. I'd like to go over there. So it's the job of the siphon to kind of push the animal over there. Or, oh, there's danger coming. I'd better move away. So ideally, that's what the governing councils and the staff structure of PYM is here to do, is as friends discern corporately how we are to move as friends, then we're here to help make that happen. So, a little bit about me. So I came to Friends as a young adult in New York City. I was alarmed by the drums of war pounding for the first Iraq war, the so-called Desert Storm, because Saddam Hussein and Iraq had invaded Kuwait. He was a bad man. We should go punish him. But I said, wait, we were arming Iraq until 6 or 12 months ago in the Iran-Iraq war, this makes no sense to me. And I read in the Village Voice that the Quakers were protesting it at that time. And so I was like, I'd better check them out. So I went to 15th Street meeting in Manhattan and had this profound experience of friends centered together, 50, 75 people in the middle of Manhattan, the biggest city in the United States, being quiet together. And so I like to say I came for the peace testimony and I stayed for the worship. And so I've been attending ever since 1990. My family and I moved to California, where we were in San Francisco meeting. I was clerk of that meeting for 4 years. Our kids went to San Francisco Friends School as a startup at the time. And then my wife got a job with the Friends World Committee for Consultation, section of the Americas, back in Philadelphia. So we moved back east. I'm from Central Jersey originally. Realize that I'm telling my story a little out of order. So I grew up in Somerset County in Bridgewater Township. Met my wife at coffee hour at 15th Street meeting in New York. But she was from California, so that's why we went out there. But then we moved back east. I ended up as the executive director of the Friends Center, which is the Quaker building complex in Center City, Philadelphia, where American Friends Service Committee, Philadelphia Yearly Meeting, and many other Quaker and non-Quaker groups are. So I did that for 10 years, and then I saw that the job at PYM was open down the hall, and Carlton was among those on the search committee, and I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring, and indeed I was selected, so I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve. And my number one goal is to increase engagement of Friends with the yearly meeting, but not for the sake of the yearly meeting, for the sake of Friends. That we have services, connections, and resources that are helpful for monthly meetings and quarterly meetings. And I'm not going to increase engagement by sending you more emails. Say, come to my thing. But if I come to you to hear you and show you we're listening, that to me that is the start of rebuilding some of these relationships that have become a little more tenuous over time. I'm also stressing the administrative function of PYM, which I think is taken for granted often. So I'm trying to actually articulate that. I also like to say I identify as an administrator, an administrator. I walk alongside the ministers, that is my ministry, to get stuff to work and to serve so that Friends can do what we're called to in the world. So, for example, PYM holds the 501c3 tax exemption on behalf of all of the affiliated monthly meetings. We hold the sales tax exemption for Pennsylvania meetings. When I showed up, I was like, why don't we do that for New Jersey, Delaware, or Maryland? And somebody said, well, Delaware has no sales tax, so no problem. But that's a good question. Let's find out. So now we have found we could do that for New Jersey meetings as well. I think taking that on for Quakertown meeting, which is the furthest north PYM meeting in New Jersey, up in Franklin Township, Hunterdon County. We also accept donations for monthly meetings through our online portal so that you don't need to set up your own PayPal or Venmo or whatever, but direct Friends to the pym.org website and select your meeting, and we pay the merchant processing fee as well. Last year we took in $500,000 for our 110 meetings. So that's a value that PYM provides. We also have the Friends Insurance Group, which holds the master insurance policy for commercial liability and property. Most meetings and several schools and some other institutions like Friends Center participate in that. So we are both sharing the risk across a much broader body of organizations, and it means your volunteer treasurer doesn't have to shop for insurance every 1 to 3 years as a standalone entity. So those are just a few of the administrative things we do. We also benefit from our Quaker ancestors who've left us pots of money. in the form of restricted gifts. And so we have granting groups that discern through responses to applications from meetings and individuals, and we give out about $1 million a year. About half of that is for individual friends, many of whom are aging or elderly, because that's how the money was given to PYM. We also have money for meetings, for Quaker buildings and programs, and for membership development. So be sure to look at the granting section of our website if you don't know about that. And Joey LaRue, our granting director, is committed to getting the word out more widely, because it has felt like, yeah, it's on our website, but we haven't really promoted it so that friends widely know these resources are there. And so everybody should have a chance to apply for that. Okay, so the other thing that the yearly meeting has done is committed to working on climate change and equality through saying things like racism is wrong. It was convenient to have this here. So part of what I would like to do now is ask how the Spirit is moving among your meetings. In general, like where is their energy? Where maybe are challenges? And also where are you witnessing? How are you witnessing? Like the food program that we heard about today, which sounds terrific. And it was so nice to get that thank you letter from the child who had benefited. So, with that preamble, I would invite you to tell me what meeting you're from and share something about what's going on for you in your meeting.
Seaville, a great deal of concern for immigrants.
Can you say more?
There are people in our midst who have come here possibly without documentation, who are being picked up, arrested, protested against, dealt with as if they were inhuman. We have the red cards to pass out in Spanish, English for people that have no idea what their rights are, not that it helps them when they're picked up. We are a little bit involved in the Cape May Immigrant Support Group that has people on speed dial to come and witness if there is a problem with ICE or other immigration programs.
Great.
A number of us have been to various marches and protests in terms of No Kings, not necessarily as a Democratic Republican thing, but as people who value individuals, individual rights, and our constitutional guarantees.
Oh, if I may.
Did I say enough?
You did, thank you. But that reminds me, another thing that PYM, so the IRS describes an organization like PYM as a centralized affiliate for administrative convenience. This is a term I did not know before. But by being that centralized affiliate, it meant we could join in with other yearly meetings and sue the Department of Homeland Security for overturning, or trying to overturn, the sensitive sites policy that said ICE would not conduct immigration enforcement in sensitive sites like houses of worship, hospitals, courthouses, or schools. And that was one of the first things the current administration did, even though for 30 years through both Democratic and Republican administrations, that had been the policy out of respect for wanting all people to be able to access those resources. So in January 25, my predecessor joined in that suit. The hearings continue. There is a preliminary injunction, as I hope you know, that protects all PYM meeting houses from immigration enforcement without a warrant, or unless there are exigent circumstances and they have pre-approval from headquarters. We also have we have a lot of information on the PYM website about that. We also have signs you can post on your property that say this property is covered by a preliminary injunction in PYM versus DHS. So thank you for mentioning that so I could remember to say that.
Is there a contact person to call if there's a problem at PYM? Is there?
Yeah, so as it says on the website, call me. I have my office number on my cell phone, so then I would call our attorneys in Washington. They're called Democracy Forward. They're a pro bono nonprofit legal group.
Right.
How could we get one of those signs?
So it's a downloadable PDF on our website. You can just print it and post it.
What is the website?
PYM.org for Philadelphia Yearly Meeting. And we are keeping the thing about the lawsuit always on the front page. So at most it would be the second item on the homepage. And click on that and we have a bunch of resources.
Do you want to stay on Seaville or do you want to go to the other?
Oh, no, I think it's popcorn and
Okay.
Can I ask everyone to speak a little loud? Not you, you're great, but
right,
a little louder.
because I'm both trying to project for the room, but now I have the mic too. And you had your hand up earlier.
I'm Bonnie Watson. I'm from Woodstown meeting. Woodstown has a long-standing arrangement with a metal detector company to fund a buy one, get one program where they get metal detectors and deploy them to war zones or former war zones for a humanitarian demining project.
Oh, great.
It is something that Woodstown feels very strongly about and has consistently, when it collects money, like when it does Music at Friends program, we have free music concerts. Most of the time we collect money either for the demining program or for the local food pantry right there in Woodstown called Disciples Pantry. We also support the Disciples Pantry in a number of different ways. We allow them to use our meeting house for storage, particularly for cold storage because they don't have enough freezers. And so during the holiday season, when lots of things come in that need to be kept frozen, they will use our freezers to do that. Another thing that we do is work with other meetings to support immigrants, any kind of like drives to collect immigrants of migrant worker support, where migrant workers come in and we work with other meetings to get toiletries, and every spring there's a toiletry drive, there's a bunch of different things that go on, shampoo, soap, all these different things that go to migrant workers. And then lastly, support with Seaville with our quilting project. Seaville has knitting for peace. We have sewing for peace. Similar, it's not named that, but it's really about making sure that when we do a bunch of baby quilts every year, and most of those go to Ukraine support. Some of them go to local hospitals and women's shelters, but most of them go to Ukraine.
So Woodstown is sewing and
Sewing
Seaville
and
is
quilting.
quilting.
We're
Okay.
sewing and quilting, yeah.
Awesome.
Seaville is knitting
Seaville is knitting.
Okay.
and collecting things.
And that was for Ukraine and other
Yes.
places, or just
No,
Currently for you.
currently for Ukraine.
great?
And by knitting, we just mean doing handcrafts. So, like, for instance, I weave, so I weave things.
Great.
Seaville also has a spin-off of Knitting for Peace called the Ukrainian Quaker Project, where
Speak up, Ann.
so Seaville has we have a spin-off of Knitting for Peace called the Ukrainian Quaker Project, which was started earlier this year. We identify other items aside from clothing that is needed in Ukraine. We work directly with Mikhail Eliz Barashvili, who is living in Georgia, the country, and has family in Ukraine. He works with Michael Eccles of the Friends World Committee for Consultation, and Europe Affairs. So I will be going to Brussels in October to meet with We have collected, oh my gosh. If you go to our webpage, we have Ukrainian Quaker Project. We have collected soaps, sanitary items, clothing, toys, thank you, arts and crafts. I'm also toothbrushes, toothpaste. Yeah, so it's not just clothing. We do accept clothing. It doesn't matter whether it's handmade or the other thing we need is blankets, which we've been getting as well. And in September, I'm going to the American Coalition for Ukraine. They're having a gathering in Washington, D.C. It's a group of organizations in the United States that help support Ukraine. So I am looking to make this a Philadelphia yearly kind of project. So I'm going to, my goal is to go to each quarter under Philadelphia yearly meeting to meet with at least one meeting to let them know about this project. I've garnered support in Mount Laurel and in Woodstown. Woodstown right now, Dan Battisti is kindly offered to allow us to use his space they have there for storage. Michael and I are not in our house right now. We don't have any room. We're renting a tiny little cottage while our house is being remodeled. So Dan has offered to do that. Mount Laurel, actually I have a flyer. I was working with Sarah Berkowitz at Mount Laurel and she helped me draft a new flyer. She may be coming to Brussels with me in October to attend the Peace and Service Network. With Julia Wallach and Mikhail. So I'd like to see this to be a broad project under the umbrella of PYM. As many meetings that are interested. Also, I've invited Kirsten Richardson to meet with me. She spent a month in Ukraine doing missionary type of work. She just got back from Ukraine about a week ago. We are going to get together. She would like to make a presentation either here at Seaville, or I'm trying to get her to do it maybe at Salem Quarterly if they're willing to do that at the next quarter meeting. There might be more people, and I might be going also to Washington with Sister Celeste, and don't allow me not to mispronounce her name. We got a large grant last year for Knitting for Peace to help pay for transportation from the Sisters of St. Joseph.
Oh, great.
And Sister Celeste actually started this whole project going 5 years ago, and she spent a few weeks at the Ukraine-Polish border when the war started, and hundreds of thousands of immigrants, refugees were pouring into Poland. So she came here and spoke actually 5 years ago. Carlton recorded it. So you can see that on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. And she talked about her experience there, and that got this whole thing rolling.
Great.
And I'm sorry, I just talked a lot. One of my Quaker friends said I tend to clap. Sorry.
One of our concerns is getting young people in.
Yeah.
For Seaville. In the past, we've had a first day school that worked, and then we brought young people in, but we really, two of our youngest folks are sitting over there, and as you can see, they're not. Thank goodness for them.
We're in charge of website and social media.
Yeah.
We're very grateful for them,
Yeah.
but we're not getting children in, and I don't know whether that's a sign of the times, whether that's a sign of Quakerism, or what the issue is, but we're having trouble with membership and young people, and we are building a website, and they're doing a wonderful job with a website and a web presence and Facebook, and it is bringing more people into the meeting, but we're still not getting so many young people.
Just getting that out there.
So.
And you have a great sign on Route 9.
Yes.
Yes.
And I heard you got a grant to put some lighting on it.
Yes, we got that website, and Holly and Scott, I got the grant for the website signage, and Holly and Scott put that together because apparently there were problems On the website, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
yes,
whole
it was
website
free.
was-
It was a mess. It needed to be cleaned up. Yep.
So, I mentioned the annual session's coming in July, but starting this evening, we're running a series we're calling the Friends Experiment. And they're 1-hour Zoom calls on topics of shared concern among friends. And the first one tonight is on children's religious education, because this is very much a shared concern across many meetings. And often, especially where there are several meetings nearby, the families with kids will sort of congregate at one because then there's critical mass. So how do we help encourage that at other meetings? So
And we're so far out from the other meetings in our quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, our nearest meeting is not in our quarter.
right.
Although we have a good relationship with them.
Yeah. And so, again, on PYM.org, I think it's the lead story right now is this Friends Experiment. It was inspired by our Director of Development and Communications, Joe Kirkinier, who started something called Fundraising Friends. And it's for the people who do the annual appeal at their meeting. And so it was a Zoom call. It's just, oh, do you do a year-end letter? Do you do more than one letter? What do you say? How do you thank people? And so it's just a peer learning opportunity. There's no one right way, but we can get inspired by the way other people do stuff, get new ideas. Or staff might have a suggestion, something else you could do. At some point, somebody said, wait a second, PYM has all these grants. Could somebody tell us about that? So we got Joey, our director of granting, as I said, to come on that call the next month. And then also they developed a resource that is other grants you can apply for, Quaker or non-Quaker. So that's something we're going to publish on our website soon. So that was that, if I may just finish. So then I said, well, if we can do that for fundraising, we could do that for finance friends. We could do it for pastoral care friends. We can do that for adult religious education and children's religious education and outreach. So the outreach one will be focused on events. A lot of meetings are doing tables at community fairs and having information, brochures, things like that, so that there's that human touch. It's great to have the website for people to land on, but if you are introducing yourself at a community festival or something and there's a real person for them to talk to invite, hey, do you want to just try Quaker meeting? Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, that's okay. And just inviting people is all right. You know, like we're trying to make sure that's clear. It's not the same as proselytizing. So, Carlton?
Can I speak? I'm from Greenwich meeting. I'm on the TV someplace.
Yeah, see you.
Besides our usual, for years, the support of local food banks and so on, this year we've begun assembling at 5 o'clock every Friday afternoon on the steps of the county courthouse, holding a big sign, or two signs, one facing each way, on the busiest road going through Cumberland County. And we're just holding two signs which say, and they're very big and commercially made, and they just simply have the word compassion. And we hold them so that everybody can see it. And it's just trying to find something that is very Quaker without being political. And we get, more people beeping at us in a positive way when they see us. Sometimes people even pull over and come and talk with us. But since we started it with just a few people from our meeting, we now have usually 25 to 30 people joining us every Friday.
Wow.
Many of them we even had Catholic priest who began soliciting members of his congregation to come and join us. But in any case, one thing that was not intentional but has happened is that we've got people coming to meeting who have never come before And even we've had 4 recently actually join.
Wow.
Meeting because we were doing something that spoke to people about what Quakers are beyond just their, well, that's what we did. We went out and put it on the line, and people who wanted to join that effort have joined our meeting.
That's wonderful.
Friend speaks my mind.
Yeah.
I just need to say something real quick. I've worked on Quaker publicity for years now, okay? Pamphlets, the articles, the history lessons, they might bring people in your doors, okay? They don't stay. What brings people into Quakerism, what brings people into our society is what this friend said right here.
Good interpretation.
What is
I was
that?
wondering what you were going to write. Yeah.
Is that about
Standing for something, doing something.
doing something, being something? I mean, if you
I
want to.
remember way back in Vietnam period, when I was in a friends meeting in Ithaca, New York, the 2 things that we did that attracted a lot of attention in a good way, as opposed to all the noise that was being created by SDS, were meetings or were activities that we did quite publicly in which we were silent as we did it. So it was a Quakerish thing. We wanted to raise the issue back then. I don't mean to drag this into our time, but that how one of the biggest effects of war was famine. So a bunch of us, only about 8 maybe, from Ithaca meeting, decided to covenant with each other to eat 1 bowl of rice a day as all we would eat. And we did it in public in the main dining hall of Cornell University. And we did it for about 3 or 4 weeks. And we remained silent the whole time we did it. And we would only talk if somebody came up and said, "What are you doing?" And we would tell them briefly. And by the end of our 3 or 4 weeks, we had 4 tables worth of people. And we started with 1 table worth of people who were doing this fast. So the idea of it being public, of it being non-flashy, but the subject itself becoming evident, to me is just such a great testimony. And it had the byproduct that was not intentional of actually bringing more people to the meeting, but it made its point very eloquently. Well, we can't do that right now. So we were having signs that just have a very Quakerish word, non-political, just compassion. And boy, did it speak.
Carlton, you've had your hand up a couple times.
Yeah, so in terms of Woodbury meeting, in terms of the, I guess, concern category, so we're rebuilding from a very long period of very few people. I think it was 3 people for I don't even know how many years, and then technically for a short period, it was a few months, was just me. We've gotten some new people, but they're usually older friends, or a few youngerish people haven't joined, so they can't go to business meeting. So I guess our concern category is so much property stuff, and I keep hearing property stuff from the quarter, other meetings and stuff, and there's been some effort to kind of collaborate, but I'd love to see kind of more of that, because I think a lot of the times it's taking away of the light we can kind of share in the world and whatnot. in the positive category, again, because we're doing some things, but it often comes in the form of sharing our meeting and our building with people we have like environmental groups come in, we have historians, things like that. We've had YAF retreats, we do the yearly YAF planning meeting in there. Like this will be more in the category of our business meeting later. I'll give a report on it, but we did this kind of spring tri-quarter test experimental event. That was fantastic. I expect that'll go on going forward. So anyway, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the property issues, absolutely. So many meetings are really struggling with deferred maintenance, capital needs. We have a Quaker Buildings and Programs granting group, but the grants are fairly small. It'll get you started, but it won't do the whole thing. So that's something we're very much talking about in our finance committee with friends as we visit. Western Quarter out in further Chester County has, I'm told, on average, 2 meeting houses per meeting and 3 burial grounds per meeting.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot. And in some cases, the properties are being transferred to the township or the town or the historical society because it's usually, one active meeting house and one dormant one, or maybe they worship there in the summer kind of thing. So it's a wonderful legacy on the one hand, and it's also a big commitment to care for.
I just wanted to add about Joey. Joey is the easiest person to talk to. He is available for you. He will help navigate you through any problems with the application process. He is a huge resource and has been one for us on several occasions. So I just want to shout out for that and to let people know, let people know that don't be afraid to ask him any questions about any of the grants.
Great.
Send him an email, give him a call.
Thank you. I will pass that on. Yeah.
Sandra Dean Murphy, Salem Quarter. And so I'm wondering about the divesting of funds. Funds that have been tagged that may no longer represent Friends Witness. I heard years ago that it would require going to Orphans Court, and I said, show me the way to walk with the orphan to the court. Nothing has been said, messages are given to staff, and at this point, pretty much all new staff. I don't think anyone there has heard this message. Perhaps Joey, but I don't know that Joey is in a position to do anything about that. It's a pretty weighty ask. And it might be a pretty specific one rather than a general concern, but it's been grumblings for at least 20 years.
Perhaps we should follow up and you can tell me more. We have 79 designated funds, so I don't even know the full list yet, and I've heard of a few that seem to be dormant, and we could either go to the Pennsylvania Attorney General or Orphans Court, but yes, a legal process has to be gone through, so I'd be interested to hear more.
We need to encourage donors now not to designate funds.
Thank you.
Or to make the designation. For instance, we have a designated fund for property, but that's all it's for. So whatever, anything that has to do with property can be used.
So this is saying there are funds that are legally restricted for certain uses, but those uses are no longer functioning.
Right.
Yes.
Sandra, did you want to say
I would
more?
like to encourage that too.
Unrestricted donations.
Yes.
That we understand that there are a lot of funds that PYM has, but they went through, and this has to be 20 or 25 years ago, a legal process to try and unlock some of those But perhaps it is time for you who have a lot of administrative experience, which I'm happy to hear about, to try that process again. That money is not doing anybody any good, except the bankers.
Well, most of the funds do get the income distributed through the granting groups, but I understand there may be a couple smaller funds that are not very active. Sandra, did you want to?
So to clarify and be very general about this, because this is a concept that would be rolling, we are faith and practice. And to go out and work in the world, we need to be of that world and not be legacy bound and tied to something that no longer we can wear. Wear it as long as you can, but there are situations that we are bearing that I do not wish to hand to the next who are rising, and to those that we are welcoming in our door. I get the heart palpitation to say, okay, let's clarify, let's get real. I'm not the one to have that conversation, but it rumbles within me, and I want it to be fair and transparent and collective. I want it to be done collaboratively, and I'm not sure where that voice best rests, if it's within our monthly meetings, if it's within the quarter. It doesn't seem to show up on an agenda over 20 years, and yet there are some shared conversations that we know have taken place.
I appreciate that, and this resonates for me as I look at that list of legacy funds and I say, you know, these are slicing and dicing similar topics from slightly different angles. The yearly meeting did do some work to address, you know, the fund for coal for the poor now is, pardon? The indigent, yes, sorry, is now, you know, more generally fuel costs. Maybe we could repurpose that to solar or something.
I remember some years ago that the fund for stabling people's horses that were coming to yearly meeting,
Right.
we got permission to use it to send buses out to help people get to yearly meeting. But that also had to go to court
Yes.
in order to do that.
I remember it was talking.
Yes, so I appreciate when friends make points that I can take back and share more broadly on these matters, that if there are conversations that need to be surfaced again, also the encouragement to give undesignated gifts or loosely designated gifts. Perhaps you want to support education, that's fine. Perhaps you want to support buildings, that's fine. Otherwise, unrestricted is very helpful.
Just thinking through, you know, what else to add to that. You know, as we're in a point where we're, like you were talking about the experiment of conversation circles on different topics, maybe as we review how to give money and use the resources, we learn to write them more broadly about things that are not going to change in like the faith. You know, not as specific, but I mean, the balance would be, yes, make things less restricted, but also to make sure that certain things are keeping enough, you know, somewhere in between. You know, so it's just like the question, not to earmark at all, it doesn't seem like the right solution either, you know, but just to articulate our terms more wisely and broadly for growth.
I'm using shorthand here. Keep things we'll need, i.e. the things we know will be part of.
I'd like to bring up an idea, if I could. I'm also a member of the Woodbury meeting with Carlton, and by the way, Carlton does an incredible job for us in terms of managing the property and spreading Quaker ideals. But I have two things that come to mind. You know, we also use our ancillary property to integrate in third-party nonprofit organizations. And we have one now that's really advancing the arts aggressively. But we did two things. I would say they're somewhat independent, but they're ideas. One is is just the willingness to create third-party nonprofits. My wife and I started a nonprofit 10 years ago in Quaker idealism. We've now built it into a $1 billion nonprofit. It owns its own building. We service about 500 at-risk seniors and veterans. We prevented 6 veteran suicides. We have a whole array of PTSD programs running everywhere from endpoint experience. We have relationships with 2 horse rescue organizations. So we're actually rescuing the horses by raising funds for both veterinary care and feed, as well as paying our EGALA and our social worker. We have programs in gardening, in multi-modal art, music, dance. And then the second idea is that we made an alliance with Rotary. And I'm very proud to say that we have the only statewide club in New Jersey. And right now, we're working on an international program with Rotary International connected to something Rotary calls Rotaract, which is outreach to students. And it's an excellent vehicle for us to be able to reach out to younger people in Quaker idealism. And we're developing programs in Newark and New Brunswick. We manage the Rotaract Club in Camden. So we're hitting all 3 main campuses of the State University on service. And our most significant project right now is in Uganda. We did some work in Ukraine as well, and the reference to the knitting project really catches my interest. I think it's a wonderful idea. But what we're working on right now is raising funds for another medical mission in Western Uganda, coordinated with Rutgers Health and Behavioral Sciences Division. We're working with a tribe that has been displaced. Sadly, the Ugandan government discovered that a tribe was sitting on ancestral lands that have a lot of minerals and very valuable natural resources that they want to exploit, and they moved them to a semi-urban environment. And some of these people have not had traditional medical care ever. They haven't had traditional dental care since the day they were born. So we sponsor dentists coming from all over the country, as well as ophthalmologists, opticians, and pediatricians. And right now we have a piece of that project. And one of our members who's a dentist and I are planning to go to Uganda next year. So I just think that that's another idea. Rotary clubs are throughout the state, and they represent great opportunities of networking, both in terms of membership development and service opportunities, plus the ability to get grants.
Great, thank you.
I can attest to that. Michael and I were in New Paltz, New York, a couple of weeks ago. We stopped at their meeting and met with Taylor Eskew. And they had gathered for us, the Rotary had made up 178 personal hygiene items for women. So that's another area that I wanted to explore in New Jersey. So I'd love to speak to this gentleman at some point or get in touch with him about Rotary International.
If I may, the Ujima Friends Peace Center at Unity Meeting in Philadelphia has a group that is creating sanitary products for young women as well.
That would be great if you could talk later about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. What I'm hearing is that we've got lots of meetings and lots of people we're trying to do lots of things. And I think we would do that, we could do a lot more if we had like a clearinghouse that we could connect people and the skills or resources that they have to contribute, that or even plugging in people that are willing to do something that is being done by another meeting. That's
Wow. Funny you should mention that. We have a database that we use called Salesforce, and I was thinking, I'm going out to visit a lot of meetings. I'm hearing about a lot of things meetings and individuals are doing, just like you said, and we should keep track of that. Not like make it a big project to go collect every detail, but as we hear about stuff, we can put it in that database. So we created a module called Meeting Activities, and we'll be compiling the notes I'm taking from these visits and other things as questions come from the body, or people let us know, oh, we had solar panels, or we had a native plant garden, or we're doing a food pantry. We're trying to capture that. Another new topic is conscientious objection, because Congress passed a law that says all people assigned male at birth will be registered for the draft automatically starting in December. So if anybody has a scruple against participating in warfare, they need to think about establishing a record as a conscientious objector. So we're starting to track which meetings do that. But yes, I think how we then turn the information we have into something useful, or maybe we just let people know, hey, contact the PYM staff and we will look up who else is doing this that we've heard of. So that needs to be fleshed out, but like we have the tool that could turn into that, I think.
Conscientious objection is a big issue in the Peace and Service Network and in Ukraine. So yeah, and so I'm glad that we're doing something here too.
Was a big thing back in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
I know my brother, who's no longer with us unfortunately, trained to counsel people to be conscientious.
They do that in North Carolina.
Go ahead.
I'm going to backtrack to something you just grazed over before about meetings with property concerns that have cemeteries. And I realize ours is only 51 graves. So
It's here.
Right outside. But partnering with groups that actually do like to do volunteer work in cemeteries, they're actually out there. They can get your stones cleaned. You know, there's a lot of things they can do if they find the right partners.
That's great. In Bucks Quarter, Wendy Kane, who is at Newtown meeting and who is also the coordinator for Bucks Quarterly meeting, and Houlihan, I'm forgetting her first name.
I won't remember.
And this is being filmed, so now I'm embarrassed. They love caring for burial grounds, and they are seeking to transmit their knowledge to do succession planning, which I think sometimes Friends have not been great at. Who's going to follow in our footsteps and not necessarily do everything the same way we used to, but do what's needed for today's world, and that would include burial grounds. So that too is something we had a gathering on property issues a year and a half ago maybe, so I wasn't on staff at PYM, I went for Friends Center. And we broke into two groups at a certain point during the day, one on meeting houses and one on burial grounds. And I think the burial grounds had the biggest group because a lot of people are wrestling with.
The quarter is wrestling with some of their burial grounds, right, Paul?
Hey, you bet we are. Oh, boy.
So there is only one person from our meeting here today. I suspect there's other meetings that are just not represented at all. I don't know everybody in Salem Quarter. Haddonfield was the same way. Whenever we had quarterly meetings, there might be one or two shows up. And the main reason was kind of the disenchantment with PYM, essentially the PYM governing body, as you know. And so I'm thinking about your octopus metaphor and the octopus brain that is leading us. I just looked at Wikipedia. Octopuses have 180 million neurons in their brain. Okay? 400 million neurons in their arms. Okay? Their brain is only really supposed to eat. It's supposed to tell them when to eat. The arms tell them where to go, what to feel, what is in the world. So I wonder about the octopus brain meetings.
So you got all the arms giving you input.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Tom Etherton from the Mohr Hill meeting. And what I'm hearing when sitting up here is largely political. We don't have any of that in our meeting.
Political?
Yeah, we don't have political activities in our meeting. We support a local food bank, and we are allow the community to use our property when they have celebrations and things when they need extra space, because we are right in the center of town. I'm one of the old guard. Used to be the young guard. So anyhow, we were actually at the point where we were looking at how we were going to lay down the meeting, what we were going to do with this, with property and so on. And people started to come. We are now a multi-age and multi-racial meeting.
Where is this?
Mohr.
What made that happen? What, all of a sudden, what, did you notice anything change?
People just came and they felt welcome.
Wow.
Josh, can you speak to it?
Because the phrase I heard was, we don't beat ourselves up too much. Yeah. It's word of mouth, guys. It's attraction. It's kids telling other kids. It's kids telling their parents. Teenagers saying, "Hey, I need to get involved somewhere. Where can I get involved?" And going online helps. Okay, and that's where it comes from.
If I could add, the Mohr Hill meeting is very much in my neck of the woods where I live, and it's also shares common space with Mohr Hill Friends School, which is a K through 8 school, and pre-K through 8 school. And some of your new members have come from the proximity. When I first moved into the area with my son, who was just a baby at the time, there weren't kids at your meeting, and I was kind of amazed, because if there's a school right there, how do they not just come over, And who knows why at the time, but maybe because of where the world is right now and what people are seeking, and who knows. But when you are close by, and when there's a school, when there's a friend's school, there is opportunity, depending on how the head of school is going to circulate information and connections. And right now we have a new head of school, Erica Salem, who is awesome and very enthusiastic about creating bridges between. And she will be presenting at the next quarterly meeting at Mohr Hill in September. So everyone who's here, please come there and hear more and spread that news. If I could add also, about childcare, this was in my mind. This is something that's been going on at our meeting. We have my son, who is been there since he was a baby, and just we have only just rolled with his needs, because that's what we had to work with, and he's been kind of satisfied to sit back from religious education at the moment and just read during worship. But then we got 2 new members recently from Friends School, and they have a rising 8th grader and sophomore and high school aged children. And we don't really have something in place for them already. And I know that this is like a struggle to, what can we tell people in our outreach that we have? Well, when you come, we can work with you to try and find what works best for you. But in the meantime, do we have a program that's already ready to go? Whoever walks in the door, whenever they walk in, upon meeting, it's like, no. And I think that's the case with most meetings. And this always comes up with quarterly planning, because you don't know who's going to show up, and your meeting may or may not be prepared to have a program or even somebody available to just watch children, because it's not what they do every Sunday. Yes, Tom.
Tell you, crying babies do not disturb a silent meeting. They would be very, very disruptive in an organized church. But when a baby is speaking out of the silence, it always reminds me that I may be 83, but I'm still a child of God. I'm still learning, and that baby is just starting the process of learning. And I came to Quakers when I was college age, but people say I always was. I grew up in a Methodist church, and I joined church when I was 12. I went to Sunday school. I loved the Sunday school songs. Yeah. And the stuff they sang in church was and that. But when everybody left, and I was in the church room all by myself, just quiet with God, they were the best times. And to find a group that understood that was really marvelous. So everybody's different. People coming in now, pretty soon, well, they're taking part in running the meeting now, things are going to change. They're going to follow their own leadings, and God bless them. We have to welcome people and say, this can be your meeting as much as you want it to be.
Yeah, I was going to see what the time was. So I think we need to head towards wrapping up. If I could make a loud silence in appreciation for Tom, I would do that. But just that sense of that spaciousness. Very briefly, Anne, and then if there's anybody else.
I would be remiss without Tom said something interesting. A lot of us come from different religions: Methodist, Catholic, Presbyterian, and I would be remiss without introducing my neighbor and friend Meredith Bolton, who is a former Presbyterian minister. And you still are.
I'm just retired.
You're just retired.
I'm an interloper.
And you have a project that you're doing with.
So yes, thank you, Ian, and mercies, everyone. I'm an interloper, but a friend of the friends. I'm a Presbyterian pastor without a congregation. My husband is worshiping with the Episcopal Church in Villas, and I attend your meeting whenever I can because it's lovely. So it's an ecumenical movement that is coming together. In the church in Villas, we are doing a prayer meeting. And this comes out of, I suspect you as Quakers are familiar with the story of how the Berlin Wall came down. That was
peaceful protests of just meeting regularly for prayer in a sanctuary. And they did it for years and years, and finally they gained some momentum. And within a few months, they had spilled out of the churches, the sanctuaries, and were walking silently in the streets with candles. And through those peaceful prayer vigils, the wall came down without violence. So it's my belief, and my denomination's belief, and others' belief, that maybe a movement is trying to get underway. So I was glad to hear you remind everyone what good we can do when we do it together. So I'm hoping that maybe down here in Cape May County, we can start a movement of a regular prayer meeting. It was a small service, about 45 minutes. It's not silent, but there's lots of silence in it. Lots of silence in it. And we use a taizé service, singing, beautiful chanting method. So that will commence again on the first Thursday of every month, starting in September in the afternoon. That's a 4:30 prayer service. It's in St. Barnabas in Villas. Yeah, it's not right on Bayshore, but it's back a little bit back. Yeah. So I invite all of you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, I think Abby, you get the last.
Okay, and we will keep this brief, but it's just like, this is a good tying together that our conversations like this are one of the most productive ways of information sharing. I mean, it's like pamphlets, like you said, it's good, they may or may not get read, but we will remember the energy behind what is being shared today. And thank you, Chris, so much for helping to facilitate all of this conversation. I'd love to keep up my good friend Gloria Corvey to plug an event she's been working very hard on, especially that our meeting is participating in. We'd like to invite you to July 5th,
Yes.
Paulsboro 250.
Yes. I
A
have
quick
a few
plug, but
brochures.
more conversation.
Yeah, we do history stuff, so I have some brochures here. Whoever wants one, yeah, go ahead. So they invited, it starts with an invocation, and so they've actively invited the religions that were in the area in 1776, and that sort of left the Quakers and even the Episcopalian Church of England. And so we've been working with these other churches all year too, and it's really been wonderful to work together. And the day is, it goes from 9 to 2, and there's all sorts of educational activity, booths set up.
Multi-generational.
For families, and so we'll have a table. We got a grant, a membership development grant from PYM, and this is one of the things we purchased with it. So we have.
That's lovely.
And this is our meeting house. Well, I wasn't planning to do this, but thank you, Abby. And one more thing that Emily actually recommended, because I think PYM had done this before, sports. And I think the ones PYM did, they wrote, "This is how Quakers eat." But we decided to put Quaker simplicity, to go with our spices on it. So it has a spoon, a fork, a knife, and a bottle opener. And so you can, it's good for summer camping and stuff. And so this is what we're going to be giving out, along with information and pamphlets and things like that.
I'm hoping it's a good opportunity for really good conversations like this with people who are curious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good outreach.
July 5th, did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Yes, Sunday
and that's
morning.
in Paulsboro?
Yeah, it's at Fort Billingsport Park, which views Philadelphia. And their claim to fame was they were the first act of homeland security for the new nation, because they were protecting Philadelphia from the British ships coming up the river, and they put this, I forget the name of it, this thing across the river. So
Great.
Okay.
Two more quick things. One is, if you do get to Old City, Philadelphia, be sure to go to Arch Street Meeting House, which has a brand new exhibit paid for with a grant from the Lilly Endowment. It's really quite something. They're getting lots and lots of visitors because of the USA 250. This is also the 250th anniversary of when Philadelphia Yearly Meeting said we would disown friends who continued to enslave other human beings without manumission plans. 1774 was when they said everybody should manumit. If you're still enslaving somebody, stop. But 76 was they were like, you can't be a friend if you continue. So we will be finding ways to commemorate that, I think, hold that in memory later this year.
And returning the plaques to the places in Philadelphia where they've been taken down.
Yeah.
Right, the president's house. And on July 3rd, so I serve by virtue of being General Secretary of PYM on the Religious Leaders Council, which is the interfaith group in the greater Philadelphia region. And the U.S. Constitution Center has invited the members of that council to join them for the Liberty Medal ceremony on July 3rd. They are giving it to Pope Leo in recognition for his commitment to religious freedom, and they wanted all the faith communities to be there. No. He had been invited and he declined, as you may recall. But he will be on video link, apparently. So friends will be represented there on behalf of our community. And if I may, I would like to carry your light with me to that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.